Hey everyone, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota, coming to you from on location in Colorado Springs. Nothing but mountains out here, but we got to talk about a mountain that people are turning into a molehill, and we'll talk about that next. Because the Timberwolves have done something that a lot of teams are concerned about and wondering about. But Naz Reid is a part of this. We'll talk about that next, as well as Julia Daniels is going to join us, and she has an idea with the St. Paul Saints and the Twins that might help them stay first place in their division. We'll talk about that next on the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey everyone, it's Ron Johnson again. This is the Ron Johnson Show. We're on location out here in Colorado Springs, but we did catch up with Julia Daniels this week, so we got to sit down and talk to her about what her thoughts are about the Vikings, the Twins. I mean, she's new to the area. And then Josh Duhamel. Josh Duhamel and Julia Daniels, we'll find out because she wants to make a bet, and maybe Josh Duhamel can get it out of her. But this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Just visit FanDuel.com/Locked On to make every moment more. And again, I'm in beautiful Colorado Springs. I got mountains everywhere. I got horses out here on our farm. Wish I could show you guys. We tried, but the angle is just too much sun. It was too much sun. Could not get a good angle to show you guys. But maybe I'll tweet some stuff out. So that's 3 Ron Johnson on Twitter. But as I bring my producer to the show, Sam Ekstrom, Sam, it's a mission Monday, of course, and the mission is we got to fix the Timberwolves. I don't know if the Timberwolves can be fixed. I don't know if the Timberwolves understand what needs to be fixed or what needs to be done. But on this mission Monday, Sam, what's the question of the day? What happened with the Timberwolves?
Yeah, big news in Minnesota sports right now. Naz Reid is back. $14 million annually, 3 years, $42 million total. And he will join the front court of Kat and Rudy. For now, we think they're sticking around for next season. And a lot of people were clamoring, you got to get Naz back. You got to get Naz back. But again, Ron, he's probably going to be in a backup role as long as they've got Rudy, as long as they've got Kat. So what do you think of this commitment the Wolves are making to stay big, it seems, and bring Naz back into the fold when they've already got, Ron, these big contracts on the books? They got to extend Ant soon. They got to extend McDaniels. What do you think about paying Naz?
Well, I don't like it. Not gonna lie, I don't like it. Only reason is because I feel like this is a guards league. If you look at the NBA draft, Sam, in the NBA draft, there were zero big time centers from college basketball. You got Timmy. You got the kid from, I think, Syracuse or Illinois. I think it was Illinois. And then you got the kid from Kentucky or Duke. So 3 centers. None of them drafted, Sam, in 2 rounds. That's what's crazy. So nobody's really playing big. So if you have 3 bigs now, you got Naz Reid, karl-anthony Towns, and Rudy Gobert. It doesn't make sense to me. I do know you need one off the bench, which is probably Naz Reid. Or are you trying to get rid of karl-anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert, and Naz Reid's going to be in there? But also, we know people can sign and trade. You can sometimes sign to trade people so people can see. And not saying Naz Reid is tradable because I don't know what you would get for him. But maybe you do move on from him and you sign him to solidify what he's worth so that other teams can see the trade value. Because Jordan Poole signed a huge extension, and look what happened to him. I mean, he's now with the Washington Wizards. And Mike Dunleavy Jr. got on the stage and said, we just signed him to a big deal. We want to keep him for 3 to 4 years at least. Liar. So in that aspect of it, Sam, I just don't know if I'm off it as big. I think Anthony Edwards needs help, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess if they're keeping everybody, they're keeping Rudy, they're keeping Kat. it is a little bit dicier to figure out how he fits into the fold. I love his offense. I mean, he's just instant offense off the bench. He can get any shot he wants. He can shoot from outside. He definitely stresses the defense. And you know what? Cat and Rudy are banged up a decent amount. Cat missed 52 games last year. And if one of them misses time again, I feel a whole lot better knowing that Naz can fill in. So I do like it, Ron. I just don't want it to impact their ability to re-sign Jaden McDaniels or add shooting help, because I think they need to commit to McDaniels because of his defense, and they need help on the perimeter. So hopefully this doesn't impede their ability to create more depth on that bench.
Well, talking about depth on the bench, the Twins have it, but it's in St. Paul. St. Paul Saints have some players, or at least one player, that Julia Daniels likes and thinks, hey, if the Twins are struggling, bring this kid up. He's hot. It's swinging a bat in the ball. It's 95-mile-an-hour pitchers, 89-mile-an-hour pitch. What's the difference? It's just a bat in the ball. We know basketball is a little bit different, but baseball, softball, those are the great equalizers of size and talent. If you can swing a bat, doesn't matter where you are or what they do with you, you can swing a bat. So we got Julia Daniels coming up on the Hang On Ron Johnson segment. But before we do that, we have a word from our sponsors.
Yes, we do. FanDuel Sportsbook. And the FanDuel Sportsbook app is an official partner of Locked On. New customers can get a no-sweat first bet, up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. If your first bet doesn't win, you can bet all the Major League Baseball games. Twins in Atlanta tonight. The Braves have 50 wins this year. They're 50-27, and they are minus 190 on the money line. See if you can get an upset win betting on the Twins tonight at FanDuel. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Great promotions. Get paid instantly. Easy to use. Easy interface. It's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Get that no-sweat first bet and bet Major League Baseball, an official partner of FanDuel. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission.
Well, now it's time for the Hanger Ron Johnson segment. I got Julia Daniels. Now, for those in the Minnesota area, if you don't recognize the name, she's new to KARE 11. She's been here for about, a year now?
Yeah.
Give or take? Yeah. So, and I got a chance to meet Julia Daniels at the Vikings game. And, of course, her and Reggie Wilson, you guys know Reggie Wilson, friend of Locked On Sports. But I was sitting there, and I'm like, you know what? I got to get Julia on. And then Reggie told me, no, you can't have her on until I get her on, but it's too late. I got Julia Daniels first. So, Julia, thank you for joining me on the Hanger Ron Johnson segment. Julia is from Arkansas, relocated to the Minneapolis area. So first, let's jump out of there. You come from the South, and now you got thrown into the frozen tundra of Minnesota. Why'd you pick Minnesota, and what was the reason for it?
Well, I actually moved up here from Florida. So went Arkansas, University of Alabama, Florida, up here. But my mentor, Jamie Erdahl Buckman, she is from the area actually, and she interned at KARE 11. She knew Dave Schwartz. She knew that he was leaving KARE 11, so she had told me to be on the lookout for a job opening at KARE 11. And I applied. She shot an email over to Reggie. Reggie looked at my stuff and decided that he wanted me to join his team. So came on up here, and I came from a market that the biggest thing that we covered was JUCO baseball. So of course I'll come up here and cover pro sports. So.
Well, shout out to Jamie Erdahl. I know she's from Minnesota, and it's always good to know people that know people that know people. And Julia Daniels is one, and we're glad to have you in Minnesota. You came from Florida, so Michigan State wasn't on your radar much, but Kirk Cousins is kind of a national name of just depends on who you are. If you're Pat McAfee and Pac-Man Jones, Kirk Cousins, and I'm not going to even say the word they use, or not they, sorry, Pac-Man Jones. Pat McAfee didn't do it, but Pac-Man Jones came at me sideways about Kirk Cousins. That's my guy, though. But and then if you're, some of these other people, you love Kirk Cousins. But before you got to Minnesota, what was your perception of Kirk Cousins?
So Kirk, I guess he was drafted when I was in like 8th grade or something like that. So obviously, as an 8th grader, wasn't really on my radar at the time when he was with Washington, but I do have cousins up here. Kirk was always Quirky Kirky, that I call him on air all the time. Maybe a little above average as a quarterback, obviously as a starter, but not really particularly. The Vikings themselves weren't really on my radar because being in the South, it was so college football.
Yeah,
I grew up a Cowboys fan, so nothing bad about Kirk. Just always that his personality was a lot different than the other quarterbacks that you see, for sure. Just very comfortable being his old Midwest self.
And that's right. Yeah, Kirk Cousins, he drives a minivan. You know, he will take his shirt off and put chains on every once in a while, but he drives a minivan. He's going to go to Pizza Ranch. He's going to sit at home on the weekends. Like, you're not going to see him on Lake Minnetonka, you know, taking his shirt off and swinging around his head like a helicopter. Like, that's not Kirk Cousins. That is Julia Daniels. I'm pretty sure Julia Daniels has taken something and swung it around her head like a helicopter, because we all know Petey Pablo was big down there in the South. So I'm pretty sure that was on Julia Daniels' playlist when she was a kid. But when you think about Kirk Cousins now, because now you cover him for KARE 11, now you're at the game. I mean, I saw you at the draft party. And by the way, you were a jack of all trades. You were the camera crew, you were the construction crew, you were the microphone sound coordinator, you were the talent director. Like, you did it all by yourself. But when you look at Kirk Cousins now seeing him and Justin Jefferson, now seeing him against other quarterbacks, as far as take the Kirk Cousins in the plaid shirt on the podium off and not the black suit like Jimmy Garoppolo, but the Kirk Cousins that throws for 4,000 yards a year, the Kirk Cousins that may or may not check the ball down on fourth down on the last play of the season, but that's different. But what do you think about Kirk Cousins now?
I think I got lucky in the sense that I came in a year where he really got to flourish, I think. Yeah. Obviously, he and JJ much more comfortable with each other, but also having somebody like KOC that kind of gives him the reins, lets him do his thing. I mean, everyone talked to me about how it was just the vibe in the locker room itself was so different with Zimmer. You get in there this year and I'm thinking, these guys are great. They're having a great time together. But I think you saw a more comfortable Kirk this season. So I think I got lucky in that sense that you got to see his personality in more than just the quirky, Kirky kind of way. You got to see him be more comfortable in the pocket, obviously have more control of the offense, but also off the field too. Seemed like he was more comfortable with the guys as well. Yeah. So that was my impression of him, just having one season under my belt. And also, he's one of those people, you know, I feel like obviously this is the first NFL team that I've covered before, but you could just walk up to him in a locker room and just ask him a random question and he would be totally okay with it, which I think is not necessarily the norm when it comes to NFL locker rooms, and especially with franchise quarterbacks and things like that.
Yeah, because a lot of guys say, I'm just here so I don't get fined. They don't want to spend a lot of extra time with the media if they don't have to. I will say that Kirk Cousins is very open. He's honest. He loves a conversation. Like, I covered, so you make me feel old, because my first game commentating on TV, live national TV for the Big Ten Network, was Michigan State. So I covered Kirk Cousins when he first got to Michigan State. Wow. He wasn't a starter yet. He was splitting time with Keith Nichols. And the only reason I remember it because it was my very first game. So I got that game and that team burned into my memory, which would have been 2009. So how old were you in 2009? I
would have been turning 12 that year.
Oh my gosh. My daughter's 12. So, oh my goodness. Oh, that's so weird. But yeah, 2009, I got a job at the Big Ten Network, first time commentating, and it was Michigan State. It was Kirk Cousins. And so when I got a chance, when he finally signed with the Vikings, we connected, and I told him, like, hey, man, like, you were my first introduction into sports as far as being a commentator and not a player anymore. And then fast forward, whatever number of years this is, 2023, we ran into each other at Disney World. And he hung out, talked to my kids for a minute, you know, shared some stories with them, asked them about their sports. Sam Ekstrom, my producer, knows this. He sent me a personal message after the fact, like text me after the fact, like, hey man, blah, 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 blah. So I'm biased, I'll say now. And it's nothing wrong with that, but I am biased because I know Kirk off the field now. Like, I've got a chance to hang out with him and talk to him at Disney World. He and I exchanged some messages here and there. So he's, you know, shared some stuff with me about family life and other stuff. So when I see that side of Kirk, I'm like, I don't understand the slander. Like, and I never did. But I'm also not a slanderous type of person, unless you're the Detroit Lions. Not the players, but just the organization. I will slander the Lions till I die. But the organization or the players, I think they're all solid. The organization, and Dan Campbell's doing better. But when you look at the Vegas odds right now, people are saying the Vikings and the Lions are kind of 1A, 1B. A lot of people are putting 8.5 over under on the Vikings season. Some are putting 9.5 on it. Some are putting the Lions right there too, 9.5, 8.5. They have the Bears and the Packers kind of below them. Do you see that as something real or fake? Like, would you bet if 8.5 is the number, are you taking the over or the under if you had a chance to? I mean, because FanDuel is the official sponsor of Locked On Sports and the Ron Johnson Show, and so you can drop some FanDuel odds. I can drop for you. I did do the no sweat first bet. I put $5 down. People, I got $150 from FanDuel, and you all know the story. I bet it on the Denver Nuggets, and the Denver Nuggets beat the Lakers, so I got my money, and it wasn't even my money, so I won their money and got more money. But yeah, if you were to take the FanDuel money, Julia, and 8.5, Minnesota Vikings, are you betting the over or the under?
The over.
Okay. What are like 9, 10? Where do you stand when you saw the schedule?
9 to be safe, right? I don't bet. Everyone asks me to bet all the time, and I say, ethically, I don't bet.
If Josh Duhamel, because he's a Vikings fan, he's going to be at training camp. Right. If Josh Duhamel comes over to you, oh yeah, you didn't know that? Oh yeah, he's a Vikings fan. He'll be at training camp. He comes every year. He comes every year. He shoots some content with the Vikings, but yeah, he'll be at training camp. He comes to some games too. I've seen him on the sideline. I've met Nick Schwartzen on the sideline. Who else did I meet? It was a couple. Like, there's a lot of random Vikings fans that I've met over the last 10 years of doing this. The last 10 years, this is our 9th year of Vikings Game Day Live, but 10 years of doing this, 10, 11 years. Every time I meet random people that are like T-Pain, he and I took a picture together because randomly, like, he kind of likes the Vikings. I don't know if it goes back to the Randy Moss days or what. But Randy Moss, Chris Carter, the big three, like Dante Culver, they created a lot of fans. But yeah, Josh Duhamel is from like somewhere in northern Minnesota, played quarterback, and yeah, he's a Vikings fan. So if Josh Duhamel walks over to you with those I don't even know what color his eyes are. We'll just say baby blue. With those baby blue eyes or dark hazel, who knows what. He's got the Vikings tight T-shirt on. He's got the hat backwards. He's slinging a football because he thinks he's still a quarterback from Varsity Blues. And he says, Julia, we're going to make a friendly bet. Mm-hmm. Who are you bet? Well, like, how many wins are you going to bet on the Vikings? If you win this, if you get their number total right, I'm going to fly you wherever you want to go. If you lose, you got to wear like a Packers jersey or something. I don't know. But Josh Duhamel comes over to you, you're going to bet. So what would you put your number on? 10, 9, 11 wins.
Oh, I don't know if it would be biased to say 10.
Okay.
But
I like it.
Also, if it's Josh Duhamel, I'm going to do it in favor of his team.
We're going to make sure we tag Josh Duhamel in this clip. He will be well aware of this one.
He's not married anymore, right?
No, he's not. He's out there in the streets.
He's a little bit older than me, but
hey, what's his name? Just had a baby at 70. So I don't think men in Hollywood they're ever too old for anybody. But yeah, Josh Duhamel is no longer with, I think, was it Megan Fox or somebody? I don't know who that is. Oh, Fergie. It was Fergie. I forgot about that because Fergie and then the Draymond Green Warriors debacle of her national anthem. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And the one person that did not defend her was Josh Duhamel. So just he did say, though, like Draymond was a jerk for laughing. But he didn't really defend her. He just said Draymond was a jerk.
That was hard to defend. Let's be honest.
It was. But I love the memes that came from it. I love the TikToks that came from it. Like, oh, man, it's the best remix I've ever seen. Yeah, it happens, though. Everybody goes through puberty at some point in their life. It just happened to her on national TV versus the Warriors. Against the Warriors national anthem with Draymond Green of all people. Like, that's the worst team to make a mistake in front of because Draymond does not know how to hold his emotions. Jordan Poole is an absolute idiot. And JaVale McGee is ridiculous. So that is the worst team to like do that in front of because they are clowns. And when you win, you can be clowns. Like, I think that's what happens.
It was the All-Star game that this happened at.
Was it the All-Star? I thought it was just the Warriors. Was it All-Star?
I think it was the All-Star game.
I got to go back and watch that now because all those guys were in that though. Like, oh, you know what? Yeah. They were in it. Yeah. Steph was in it. Draymond was in it. Clay was in it. And then the Warriors played her song in their locker room later though.
Stop.
Yes, they played the remix, this Sway the Remix God did on TikTok. They played it in the locker room after Josh Duhamel made the comment that Draymond was a jerk. So that's how the Warriors are tied into this. Yes, you got to watch it. It's a full video of them doing a TikTok. They're all sitting in their locker room doing stuff, and then the song starts playing, and then they all start doing like different dances. It is hilarious. I forgot about that. It's the team actually did make fun of her. The whole team, they doubled down on it after the fact. So yeah, you got to check that out. But getting back to the seriousness of football and sports, and the Julia Daniels of Minnesota, all the great things she did. Two quick ones before we get out of here. Julia, when you look at the Twins, and you cover the Twins now, and they seem to be winning a division and nobody really wants it. What is it going to take for the Twins to be? Because, I mean, we know we've seen the Carlos Correa. He's not hitting like Luis Ariz. He's been traded. Right. But what do the Twins have to do to kind of keep this lead? I mean, what is it going to take? Or is it just everybody behind them is just that bad?
Well, I think we also, I mean, Buck's he's barely DHing. So
right.
That's not great. I mean, he's the value that they're paying him, he's really not living up to. Right. As fun as Byron Buxton is to cover, for my position, but yeah, you don't have him out in the outfield. Sometimes you don't even have him DHing. So, you got to get some consistency with the bats.
Right.
Reggie always makes fun of me because I keep up with the Saints as well, the St. Paul Saints, which is so cool that coming up here and then I find out they're AAA affiliates right across the street,
Oh yeah.
The way that the Saints are hitting right now, I don't know why they don't pull some guys out of there. They've got this one guy, Chris Williams. He's like a Clemson grad. He has had 7 homers in 8 games. He had 6 homers in the first 3 games of last week's series.
Wow.
I mean, they've just got to be consistent getting the bats going because their bats catch fire in one game, and then the next day they don't hit anything. And this has been a problem also, first third of the season, their starters are going 7 innings. And now all of a sudden their starters can't go 7 innings. And people are confused by that. And I'm thinking, well, if you can do it for the first third of the season, then you're worn out. You've got 5 starters there. I think that they went in with the game plan for pitching and it worked for the first third of the season. And now it's kind of falling apart a little bit. So they're having to rely on some of their AAA guys, pulling them up, having them start, which is kind of scary. But I think they on both defensively, offensively, they've just got to have way more consistency. Otherwise, also being at the top of the division doesn't really say anything because they're in the worst division in the league. So
true. And you know what? That's some good stuff though, because if you look at like movies, and I'm a movie buff. Sam, my producer, has never seen any movies. Some of the movies I've watched, you weren't even probably old enough to watch yet, but like Major League and some of these other movies where that happens, where you see guys come from like lower divisions, you see guys just get put on teams because they're hot at the moment. You're right. At this point, maybe the Twins need to look to the St. Paul Saints a little more and say, look, it's not working with the guys we have up here. We might as well try something because we're barely holding on to this lead. And if we have a 7-game, I guess, slump, you'd say, I would say 4 games. That's a problem. You could lose 4 games in this division and you're fine. But 7, I think, is where one of these teams can win 3 and they're going to jump you. And so I think, the Twins, St. Paul's, and maybe you need to go over there and talk to Rocco Baldelli. Like that's your next trip over to the stadium. You need to just say, hey, I was at the Saints game the other day. This guy's hit 7 home runs in 8 games. Like you might want to pull him up and then just walk away. Just walk away.
That's it. He's like, who is this girl? No, I'll also say I wouldn't be surprised if they were to do something like that. We've seen them do some crazy stuff. We've seen him make some crazy decisions when it comes to optioning guys and things like that. I mean, Trevor Larnach was on a road trip with them. He was in the lineup when they sent it out 2 hours before first pitch, and then they optioned him after they posted it on social media everywhere. Sent him back to St. Paul. I don't even remember who they brought up in his spot, but then also Jose Miranda's with the Saints right now. No one expected to see that for this long of a period. So clearly they're not like worried about hurting anybody's feelings. So I don't know why they don't just go ahead and do it.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden, if you get lightning in a bottle with these guys that are hungry and excited to come up and want to stay up, maybe you end up winning some games that people don't expect. Because right now the Twins are an afterthought when you think about the Yankees, the Red Sox, think about all these other teams that you would consider like, Shohei Ohtani. And they're like, I'm not even in that market, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Angels because Ohtani's going to pitch. Like that's the excitement the Twins maybe could create with some young guys that come up and just start because the Bomba squad was great, and now they don't even have that anymore. Like I don't think people consider them the Bomba squad anymore. You can't claim that when Luis Arraez has 100+ hits and your best hitter has 55 or 52 or whatever it is. Like like he's doubled your best hitters, and so that's when you can't really say we're the Bomba squad anymore. I mean, you could say we're the Toon squad or something, or the Monster. I don't know. Like I have no idea what can't be the Monstars, but you can be the Toon squad.
Well, I'll also say your Minnesota sports are so underrated too.
Yeah.
They're never going to get the traction that, despite this being one of 6 cities that has every protein that there is, it's just, I don't know why. I guess maybe because Minneapolis is so far from everything else, but it just really doesn't get the traction, even if it should.
Yeah.
Should they? I mean, what did they?
Yeah, because you're right. Even with Kevin Garnett, I remember when I was here with Kevin Garnett, like it wasn't like, I mean, he was big to us,
right?
But he wasn't big to the world. But then he goes to the Celtics. And he's I mean, like if Kevin Garnett had never went to the Celtics and won, I don't think he is what he is. Like, I mean, he would be a Hall of Famer, but I don't think he has like a Showtime show. I don't think he's on ESPN. I don't think I don't think all the streams that follow him. I don't think he would have had that because people would have just been like, look, this is just another Minnesota guy with a lot of stats that never does anything big for us as a sports world. Well, he goes to the Boston Celtics and then screams out anything is possible. And Adidas wants him, and that's their tagline. And then all of a sudden, he has a shoe line, and it is what it is. It's just one of those things where it's tough. Like Kobe Bryant with LA, LeBron James, just being LeBron James.
Yeah.
Alex Rodriguez, we hope will come here and make a move and make the Timberwolves great, but we haven't seen it yet. It's early. He can't even keep J-Lo happy, so who knows what he's gonna do with the rest of his team. Seriously, like if he had kept J-Lo, I think they get more free agents. Like I think all the free agents, like Kristaps Porzingis, Bradley Beal, Marcus Smart. I think everybody would have been like, hey, I want to be over there with Minnesota because J-Lo is courtside every week. Like sign me up for that. Like Jordan Poole, Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole, it could be a girl on the sideline that like he's never met in his life. But like it could be Julia Daniels. Julia Daniels sitting courtside and she's with her friends. If Jordan Poole sees you, he's gonna shoot 7 from half court just because. So Jordan Poole probably, because he already got punched by Draymond, so either he's gonna go or Draymond has to go. Right. And Jordan Poole probably would have come to the Minnesota, and because we've talked about them needing another scorer with Anthony Edwards, could have been Jordan Poole, but J-Lo, you went with Ben Affleck, and now we got to watch Batman. So.
God.
I don't know if you remember, but Ben Affleck was Batman at some point.
Even then, I just don't, they don't consider any of the Minnesota sports teams one of the blue bloods. So
true.
You can be as good as whatever.
All of our teams that leave here, though, go win somewhere else. I will say that. The Lakers, they were the Minneapolis Lakers. Yep. Yep. And then the Wild, the Dallas Stars. I don't know. Sam might know that. I don't know if the Dallas Stars actually won anything, but I know the Wild people are still upset about all the teams leaving us, and then we have to get a new team. But one quick one before we get out of here, Julia, when you talk about college football, maybe 2 quick ones, but you talk about college football, you come from the college football world. Again, you come from a market like Florida. I mean, ridiculous, SEC, and then you come here to Minnesota. What do you think PJ Fleck will have to do or continue to do to end up maybe on this national conversation with these other coaches?
I would say with NIL, you've got to get more money flowing in and out of, and more opportunities for kids, because that's the main, coming from Alabama, you have these boosters that just have stupid amounts of money.
True.
They own dealerships. They own multiple dealerships, in the Tuscaloosa, Birmingham area. You've got a lot of oil money that's down there, things like that.
True.
There's money up here. It's just not necessarily always going to the U. I think with NIL, you've got to not only be a coach now, but also a businessman. And you've got to kind of create opportunities for those top recruits and have that on the table already when you're offering a scholarship, which is a weird space to be in. It's very odd for me just because NIL wasn't a thing when I was in college. But I also, on the flip side of that, will say, and I was talking to my news director about this yesterday, a guy like PJ Fleck is becoming more attractive as a coach to this younger generation that's coming up, because he is a guy, he's not Nick Saban, who's like so hardcore, and he is a psychopath as a coach. Let's be honest. He doesn't care about your mental health. he doesn't care about. He can say that he does, sure.
Mm.
And this is coming from an Alabama fan. PJ Fleck genuinely cares about the well-being of his guys. He makes sure that they're in therapy, not only for football, because there's the sports psychology side of things, but also making sure mentally they're okay. They're going to class. They have a career once they leave, be it in football or something else. So I think that becomes more attractive to a generation that's coming up, having learned about mental health their entire life. So I think he's got that advantage to him. I think, as my dad would say, it's not about the money. It's just about the money, though. So you got to figure out some more opportunities for these guys to have NIL deals and get paid while they're at the University of Minnesota and get them that traction. But that also comes from winning games. So.
Yeah, no, that is very true. I think if PJ, he's locked down a lot of this 2024 class, especially in Minnesota. He's continuing to get top recruits. Just saw another quarterback, big time quarterback, I think 3-star, 4-star kid that's going to be 2025 that says, man, I couldn't pick a better coach to commit to. So when you think about Ethan Caligman now having maybe 2-3 years without any competition, then this kid comes in as a freshman, gets to sit behind Ethan for a year maybe, and then he plays. I think that's the formula PJ's kind of create, which you've seen at Alabama. They constantly load up players, and then you see guys like Jalen Hurts and Tua and Mac Jones all on the same team and all in the NFL. You look at Joe Burrow being at Ohio State, then going to LSU, same thing, being in there with CJ Stroud and all these. Like, that's what great programs do. They continue to create opportunities for different quarterbacks to not be freshmen playing. But hey, sophomore, junior, you're still going to get 2 to 3 years. You're still going to go have a chance to go to the NFL if you're great, because let me create you and make you great. I think PJ Fleck is on to something. But I want to thank Julia Daniels for joining me on the Ron Johnson Show, hanging around Ron Johnson segment. I'm Ron Johnson. That's Julia Daniels. For those watching on YouTube, you understand why I said I'm underdressed, because look, I mean, come on now. But also for those on Roku, Amazon Fire, I want to thank you guys for joining us. And then we are going to have the daily 3. That's myself and Sam, 3 questions, about 1 minute each today. We took a little bit extra time with Julia, which I'm glad we did. And then we'll be back after a word from XM Radio.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to training camp this year, Sam, because Julia Daniels, I'm going to try to make sure, if I know Josh Dumas is going to be there, I got to find a way to get her over there. I don't know how, but we got to find out. If he might not come this year, though. Who knows? He might not come this year, but if he does, Sam, I'm looking forward to that. But I want everybody to know that Sirius XM Radio is a proud partner of Locked On Sports and the Ron Johnson Show. Just remember, the Twins visit the Atlanta Braves at 6:20 p.m. tonight. You can catch every pitch of the Twins' hometown broadcast with Sirius XM with the SXM app. Just search Twins. Also, if you have the XSM app, you can search Locked On Sports Minnesota, and it's going to bring our show up right there on your device. You can stream, download, and then listen when you're on the go, on the plane, out here in beautiful Colorado. So make sure you guys do that. But coming up next, we have the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, probably 30 seconds each. Take it away, Sam.
All right, rapid fire today. It came out over the weekend that Vikings tackle Oli Udoh was cited for reckless driving 3 times in the month of May, basically just driving too fast, going 97 and a 55 and a couple other infractions. And remember, he did have an arrest at a nightclub last year. Those charges were dropped, but a couple off the field issues for Oli. Ron, do you think this kind of thing affects his ability to make the team this year?
I think it does. It comes down to character. I'm sorry. Teams are more about character now than ever. It's honest. Like, look, we can talk about it on, like, before guys would get little things like speeding tickets and nobody would know. But now it's so public, and publications are looking for things like this. This does put a red kind of a X on his, on his resume. And I guess maybe there's 2 now, because you got the nightclub is 1. Now you got this. The month of May was absolutely fast. Now, I don't know if he's trying to audition for the Fast and Furious, but this is not the way to do it, bud. This is not the way to do it. I mean, I'm looking forward to the Fast and Furious 10 just as much as anybody else, but that's not the way to do it. So I think when you think about what he has to do, he has to either, 1, show and prove, which means you can have no more issues for the rest of this year. But if there's a guy that comes in and they're even and his character is lower, Oli Udoh's out the door. So it sucks, but this is the way billionaires operate. Like, you are not going to screw my team up, especially if you're not a big piece of the puzzle. Like, that's the problem, is he's not a huge piece of the puzzle. And so can we find another swing lineman? Probably. That's not going to get in trouble. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they've got Vidarian Lowe, they've got Blake Brandel, they've got a couple other young tackle options. They did sign Udo to a 1-year deal this year, so last year of his contract. I think they do like him though. They like his positional flexibility.
Yeah.
So I tend to think that if he plays well enough, he will make the team. But like you said, if it's a tie, then maybe that's the tiebreaker against him. Next question, Ron. There was a huge score in Major League Baseball over the weekend. Maybe I think Mission Fast Pitch probably beat some teams by this score, but the Angels beat the Rockies. You can mention this to people in Colorado. The Angels beat the Rockies 25-1 on Saturday night. What's the most lopsided game you have ever played in, Ron, at the football level or covered as a member of the media?
Well, Sam, I mean, it was 23-0, I think, in the fourth inning. So that's the thing. They took the foot off the gas. Like, this might have been a 50-point game. But as far as me, I don't think I've ever played in one. I've had some pretty, like, competitive games for the most part, especially in the NFL. I didn't have any of those blowouts like that. College, I don't think I really had any blowouts. I mean, we blew some people out, like some of those smaller schools, but I wouldn't count those. But I was a part of, like, I think it was Iowa, Minnesota. I didn't play, but I was there. Tim Brewster, 55-0. That's what that feels like. Well, you just can't do no 55-7. I don't know what it was, but that was the nail in the coffin for Tim Brewster. So I would say that one, Iowa, Minnesota, Tim Brewster, horrible. We're that didn't happen though. We don't talk about that anymore. I don't know. Have you seen anything as bad as that though?
No,
25-1
every year it
crazy.
seems like ESPN, they like to post on the anniversary. They'll say like 100 years ago today, Georgia Tech scored the most points in a college football game, and it was like 222.
Yeah.
Like in 1904 or some absurd date in history, like the first football game ever. Yeah, no, that's 25-1 though. That is a crazy baseball score. Last one. Speaking of 25, ESPN projected the top 25 college football programs over a 3-year span based on who's on the roster now and what their recruiting situations look like. Can you guess how many Big Ten programs are on the list if you include the newcomers USC and UCLA?
Well, Sam, I don't know. Let's see. So I'm gonna say I don't know because Caleb Williams is gonna be gone. So I don't know if you could put UCLA or USC. USCLA does have Dante Moore as a freshman, so maybe he'll be playing by then. But top 25 projected, I got to go Ohio State, Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan. I'm gonna go PJ Fleck. I'm gonna go Minnesota because they have 8th in Calic Manis. But they're gonna lose a lot on defense. I gotta say 6.
The correct answer is 8. 8. USC and UCLA both made the list. Wisconsin,
so that's
Penn
the two
State,
I didn't put in there.
Ohio State,
Yep.
Michigan.
Yep.
Yep. And my ESPN Plus isn't loading for me. There were 2 more. I can't remember who the bottom were, but there were 8 out of the 14, or I guess 8 out of the 16 teams that made it. Minnesota did not crack the top 25.
Wow. So I'm guessing Illinois maybe, and then like Iowa or something. Who knows?
Iowa, yeah.
They don't respect PJ Fleck. Yeah. They don't. Kirk Ferentz and his son. I don't know what they have on the on ESPN and some of these publications because they continue to put them in the top 25 every year to start the year. But it's the most boring offense in the world, by far. Like I would rather go hiking. This mountain up here it's called the Gardens of the Gods, I think, or something like this ridiculous hike. I'd rather do that than watch Iowa's offense. It is horrible. It is the most boring offense I've ever seen. I'd rather hike that 10 times in a row and die than watch Iowa's offense. But it's not my publication. I don't have anything to do with it. But I'm Ron Johnson. That's Sam Extra. I want to thank you for joining us on the Ron Johnson Show today. Remember, Amazon Prime, Roku, wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartMedia, please make sure that you download and subscribe to the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And again, I'm Ron Johnson. That's Sam Ekstrom. I want to thank you guys and have a great day.